Okay guys, quickly wanted to give you an update on what this is because I'm sure some people are a little bit confused, like, hey, you're doing news content over here. Well, pretty much every now and then when there are stories that either didn't make it to the main show over on Forever News, or it's breaking news, or just anytime I really want to talk about some stuff and I don't want to wait a whole week, because when I record an episode of Forever News, it takes some time to get that episode ready for Saturday or whatnot, again over on the other channel. So pretty much I decided, instead of waiting and having some of this news from like a week ago come out all the way in the following week, when there's stories that I really want to talk about, I'll just talk about them over here in a little short format video, very chill, very lax. So yeah, it's not that I'm bringing Forever News back over here, it's just that, hey, I want to talk about some stuff and I don't want to wait, so here you guys go. And also it just feels very liberating over here on the main channel that I can pretty much do whatever I want. Like, I'm not tied down to no schedule. Over there on Forever News, we got, you know, the Saturday episode and the re-uploads and stuff like that, but over here I can do what I want, and as long as I'm serving you guys the content that I know y'all want to see, hey, we win both ways. So yeah, I wanted to get that out to you guys, but let's talk about some stuff. So it's very interesting how people look at Boruto as a whole, right? Like, I feel like outside of hardcore fans, the main consensus of the Boruto series and whatnot is that, hey, it's either cool, hit or miss, and for the most part, a lot of people are like, we really just love Naruto, Sasuke, and them. Occasionally, Kawaki is really dope, and Boruto and stuff like that, but for the most part, a lot of people really are just, especially at this particular point, waiting for the time skip or waiting for something else. There's a Sasuke manga coming, but people aren't as gung-ho, especially post Ishiki's arc. It pretty much feels like right now Boruto is in a little bit of a limbo, so to speak. And people also use the sales of the Boruto manga, including myself, to get a gauge of like, yo, how are people feeling about the Boruto series as a whole? And considering Boruto's manga sales have been on an absolute decline with every single passing volume, I think it's stabilized over the last couple volumes, but it still hasn't like increased or anything like that, especially considering last year you would have thought that the sales would have skyrocketed because Boruto was on absolute fire in 2021, but it didn't. So a lot of people for the most part just look at Boruto like it failed. It's not doing what you would expect from a sequel to one of the biggest anime and manga of all time, Naruto. However, it's very interesting to note that a little bit of news came out right now that tells a different tale in terms of, while maybe the manga sales, the physical and digital purchases of the actual manga volumes and whatnot aren't stellar, haven't increased or anything like that, Boruto is still widely popular. It just seems as though people aren't willing to invest in purchasing the actual manga, because we got an article right here that says, according to a recent survey conducted by Shonen Jump Plus, Boruto Naruto Next Generations ranks number 5 as the most read/viewed series on the Manga Plus app as of August 2022, and all of the top works have been read by more than 1 million people, which again, that's very interesting. So it's one of the top 5 most read on the Manga Plus app, and looking at this list, it's a very tough list. 10 Sakamoto Days, 9 Kaiju number 8, 8 Spy Family, 7 Jujutsu Kaisen, 6 Black Clover, 5 Boruto again, and then it's only bested by My Hero, which is a huge series, Chainsaw Man, a huge series, Dragon Ball Super, one of the biggest, you know, titles of all time, and One Piece at number 1. And it just says here, finally, this is also a different view from the user questionnaire, but it will introduce the top 10 views ranking as of August 2022 of what kind of works overseas readers like. So this is basically an idea of what overseas is very popular, and it's fascinating to see that Boruto overseas, at the very least in terms of readers and whatnot, is more popular than Black Clover, is more popular than Jujutsu Kaisen, Spy Family, Monster number 8, and Sakamoto Days. Kaiju number 8 and Sakamoto Days, I could throw the argument, dog, they don't got anime, that's not fair. So it is what it is. But Spy Family, humongous. And even then you could throw the argument, but it's not a battle series, and battle series are historically the most popular. But there's no argument to say that at the very least it isn't an accomplishment and a feat in and of itself that Boruto has read more than Jujutsu Kaisen and Black Clover. That's just a very big freaking achievement. Black Clover is very popular, especially over here in the West. It's big. And then Jujutsu Kaisen came through like a storm. So for Boruto to be outdoing those titles, that is a very big feat. Like, I'm not somebody that comes here, I gotta hate on Boruto. Like, that does nothing for me. Whether I love it or hate it, it does nothing for me at the end of the day. I just like to be honest. So that is major, but it's also very telling that despite the fact that Boruto outdoes numbers wise on the Manga Plus app those series, I know for a fact that at the very least Jujutsu Kaisen, for example, does way better in sales over here in the West, especially than something like Boruto. When I go to my local Walmart and whatnot, I'll find Jujutsu Kaisen volumes. I will 100% find Jujutsu Kaisen. I will 100% find Spy Family. I rarely, if ever, see Boruto. I've seen Dragon Ball Super in there as well. I don't see Boruto, just being honest with you. And to me, that tells me that people, they're willing enough to read it online. They're willing enough to go on a free app and read a free chapter, but they're not going to put their money down and purchase a volume. What does that mean? More than likely, to me, that tells me that people are reading just because they want to keep up with the story. They want to keep up with the Ninjaverse, and there's probably a little shred of hope that, yo, Naruto and Sasuke are going to do something more epic yet again, but it's not necessarily that they invested in Boruto's story, and that's probably why people are willing to read it for free in droves, over 1 million, but they're not willing to go and put their money down. I know for a fact that myself, I haven't purchased a Boruto volume in quite some time, and I throw the argument that that's probably because, again, it's like, hey, there's some hit or misses or whatnot, especially like the last year or so of chapters. There have been some highs, especially earlier on in the year with stuff with Kawaki and Boruto, but then there's been a lot of lows, and it's like, do I really want to invest my money in purchasing physically some of those volumes when I could, and I already read those chapters for that matter upon launch when they come out on the Shonen Jump app, on the Manga Plus app, wherever the hell you read it. It's like, why am I going to go purchase some of these things that I'm not even all that emotionally invested in? But as you can see right here, Jujutsu Kaisen, I'm still collecting Jujutsu Kaisen. I believe I'm up to, if not the latest, one of the latest. Spy Family, I've started my collection there. It's a little bit small, but it's getting there. And again, that's probably because Boruto isn't really servicing people like myself that are actually going out to buy, especially here in the West. Maybe in Japan it's a little bit different, but even then, we know in Japan that the sales have been going woo. So to me, it's just very obvious that at the end of the day, Boruto fans that are reading over here, probably a lot of it is still old Naruto fans that they love Naruto, but they're not willing to put their money down for Boruto. And it is what it is, but it is a very telling sign that there's still a lot of interest for Boruto. That's a good thing, right? Like at the end of the day, there's still a lot of people checking the series out, despite maybe not being the most gung-ho about it, but they're still checking back every month to see, well, maybe it'll get back to, at the very least, the prominence that it had during the Kara arc, during the Ishiki Otsutsuki Jigen and all that stuff, because that's what I'm holding out for. Like, yo, can we get back to that level of hype, that level of peak, so to speak, that Boruto was at? Because it was in 2020 in my top 3 manga of the year. Honestly, it was just that freaking damn good to me. So we'll see what happens, but at the very least, we know for sure there's still a lot of eyes on Boruto. It's just a lot of eyes that are probably a bit disappointed. And I know some people are going to take that as hate, but I'm telling you, hey, Boruto has a lot of eyes. Boruto is really popular, just is not popular enough for people to pick it up and purchase it and put their money down. Then I wanted to talk about this Netflix live action series of Death Note. It was announced a few months back now, I believe. Was it last year or earlier this year? That pretty much the people behind Stranger Things were developing a new Death Note live action series, not a movie. And well, let's read this article so you guys can understand a little bit more of where I'm coming from with what I'm about to say. Netflix new live action Death Note series hires Halia Abdel Maguid as writer. Entertainment news website Deadline reported on Thursday that Netflix's new live action series of Sugumi Oba and Takeshi Obata's Death Note manga has hired Halia Abdel Maguid, who did Miss Anity, The Devil in the White City, as a writer as well as executive producer. Deadline describes Abdel as a longtime fan of Death Note and a fluent, she's fluent in Japanese speaker who lived in Tokyo before. And of course, Matt Duffer and Ross Duffer, also known as the Duffer Brothers, are developing the show at their new Upside Down production studio. And here's the thing, for starters, I try to look into those things that she's done. I'm really not familiar. I didn't really see much buzz around any of these titles, and I believe she's also developing something new as well. Yeah, she's doing an adaptation of Stephen King's The Talisman, and that's coming as well. But pretty much this will be a new take from Netflix's previous live-action Death Note film. This is not going to be within the realms of, or even connected to, for that matter, the Death Note live-action film. And here's the thing where, despite the fact that, don't get me wrong, there is like zero optimism coming from me in terms of what this series is going to be. I am not optimistic at all. There's one project that I'm being optimistic about, and that's the One Piece live-action, and that's because I know some of the people behind it, and they're really hardcore One Piece fans, and I think if they're vision comes to fruition, it can be done properly. So there's like one show that I still have, you know, I'm waving the flag like they can get it done. But in terms of this, I don't really have much high expectations. I barely have expectations other than it's going to exist. But pretty much I'm looking at this as follows, right? Because again, this is not going to be connected to the Death Note live action Netflix movie that came out, but also that film was basically sold alongside the rights to Netflix. Originally, that film that came out 5 years ago, like that was pretty much sold to Netflix with the rights to create more Death Note live action content. That film was not made by in-house Netflix or anybody involved within the Netflix confines. That was basically sold to them. So essentially, you can't necessarily say Netflix made that film. Initially, I was like, yo, that was Netflix's fault. But they bought it. That's it. They bought it, and they bought rights to do some more. And that's why a while back, even after that film came out, they were like, we're going to do some more Death Note live action. But it really got mum about what's happening. We didn't hear much. And then again, it took many years later for them to say, yo, we're doing a Death Note live action series this time. So while I'm still not optimistic, because at the end of the day, even when I was like, yo, this is going to be great, for example, with Cowboy Bebop, I was actually very excited and I did enjoy a decent amount of it. The ending was absolutely terrible, and I'm hoping that they don't go that direction. I'm hoping, like, for the love of God, there's two live action, or three, I forget if there's 2 or 3 live action Death Note films that came out in Japan. Just follow the blueprint that they did, because from what I heard, those movies were pretty decent. Something along those lines, or just make it really good. I know that sounds like a tall order, but I'm hoping that there's something at the very least redeeming, and at the very least, we gotta be better than that film. That film was freaking terrible. That film was a disrespect and a spit at Death Note as an IP. So I'm hoping that Netflix can get it right this time around with it. I'm unfamiliar with the person that's going to be writing it, but the Duffer Brothers do Stranger Things, and Stranger Things is highly critically acclaimed, so maybe this can be good too. And I think if they get it right, considering we're in like this whole TikTok era and, you know, this new generation of kids and whatnot that aren't even familiar with Death Note, it could strike a chord, and maybe it could even be big. And who knows, maybe it could inspire the Oba and Obata brothers, well, they're not brothers, but the creators behind Death Note to continue on with a new Death Note, because Platinum End wasn't all that good, from my opinion anyway. I know some people liked it, whatever, but yeah, make more Death Note if this is successful, because I think it's possible to make something good. It's just a matter if they get the right people, and considering she's fluent in Japanese and lived in Tokyo, we got a shot. Like, I don't understand why that was in the article. Like, why? What does that mean? Like, she's fluent in... But yeah, I mean, I feel like it's good news in a way that it won't be connected to the film at all. It'll be its own thing, and maybe Netflix can get it right. Doubtful, but maybe. I guess we gotta wait and see. Then something very quickly that I just wanted to point out, in the return of the Hunter x Hunter manga with the latest chapter, it was revealed something really awesome. The cover colored page of the manga's return is of a crossover of Gon from Hunter x Hunter and Yusuke from Yu Yu Hakusho, and a lot of fans are speculating, what if the whole fan theory all this time has actually come to fruition, and Hunter x Hunter does take place somewhere within the realm of Yu Yu Hakusho? That would be freaking amazing. I mean, I don't believe anywhere in the chapter other than that cover page was there any hints, references, or anything to Yu Yu Hakusho, but if they did incorporate it somehow and made it that maybe Yu Yu Hakusho was a prequel to Hunter x Hunter, that would be mwah. And I think Togashi definitely could get it done, and it would also inspire whatever the heck they decide to do after the fact, because Yu Yu Hakusho's on a big anniversary. That could also be the reason. It could just simply be, hey, here's some, I guess you would say, fan service for Yu Yu Hakusho fans that also love Hunter x Hunter. Here's both of my boys right here on the scene. So that could be all that it is. I'm hoping that there's more to it. I'm hoping that there's some type of connection, whether it be that Jing is Yusuke's grandson, and we see Yusuke looking young as hell, but we find out that this is 100 years after Yu Yu Hakusho happened. That would be absolutely incredible, and I would love it. But yeah, just wanted to point out that that's a really awesome thing that Togashi did one way or another, whether it's just the cover page just to celebrate both of these bad boys, because I believe Yu Yu Hakusho has a couple of things coming out. It has a 30th anniversary Blu-ray release that's coming over here to the West with the 2 OVAs that were recently created with the updated animation. That's going to be coming, although I'm not that fond of the way they're doing it. It's like, so let me get this straight. In order to watch those 2 OVAs, assuming they're going to dub them, I got to rebuy all of Yu Yu Hakusho again. I've already bought Yu Yu Hakusho like 3 different times. I don't want to rebuy it again, especially I already got my Blu-rays, so I don't know how I'm gonna justify this purchase. But so with that happening and then the live action on the horizon that I'm very, very skeptical of, to say the least, probably Tagashi was like, yo, let me throw a little promo, remind people of who's the original GOAT of this bad boy. But I guess we'll wait and see. Either way, it's still a very awesome cover page for the return of Hunter x Hunter. And while I got you here, I guess I just wanted to show you this image of a high resolution close-up of an ant's face that looks something out of a horror movie. That is actually what you're seeing on the screen, a close-up high-res image of an ant. Dog, what is that, dog? That looks like a straight-up 90s horror film. Like, I can't even believe that that's real, but ants are some scary-looking creatures, dog. If they ever got really big, oh my god, Chimera Ant Arc must have been inspired by ants actually looking fugly as a motherfucker. But let me know what you guys think of this little format from time to time. If you want to see me do more of this, I'll definitely oblige. I'm ForneverWorld, and as always, people, have an awesome day. Remember the golden rule, anime and manga for life. Subscribe and hit that bell, baby. Yeah.